Delhi is choking. We all know that. But imagine this. What if a new leader came in with a mandate to fix it, and they only had 1 year to do it? Today, we're diving into a bold, hypothetical mission to do exactly that.
All right, let's just get right to the heart of the problem. That number you see, 105, that was Delhi's average PM 2.5 level for the entire year of 2023. And we're talking about that really fine toxic dust that gets lodged deep inside your lungs. Now, to put that in perspective for you, that is a mind-boggling 21 times higher than the safety guideline from the World Health Organization. This isn't just, bad air. This is a full-blown public health emergency. So that's the setup for our big question today. Could one leader with the right plan and the political will actually make the air breathable again in just 1 year? Let's dive into a really detailed, evidence-based roadmap that lays out exactly how it could be done. Okay, but before we can get to any solution, you've got to understand the problem, right? We have to know where all this pollution is actually coming from. So let's break it down. Now, this is such a crucial piece of the puzzle. We hear a lot about crop burning, and don't get me wrong, that's a huge problem during certain months. But what this data shows is the real year-round culprit. Look at this, vehicles. A massive 40% of Delhi's toxic air comes from traffic. Then you've got road dust and industry right behind it. And wow, this chart really just puts the scale of the challenge into perspective. On the left, that little bar, that's the WHO's safe guideline. And on the right, that's Delhi. It's not just a gap, it's a massive chasm. And it's a chasm that millions of people are literally forced to breathe every single day. All right, so that's the grim reality. The question is, how on earth you even start to fix it in just 1 year? Let's get into the plan. And the first thing about this plan is that the goal isn't some vague promise. It's super specific. It's measurable. The target, a 15 to 20% cut in PM 2.5, and, this is a big one, to have absolutely zero severe air quality days during the city's brutal winter season. And this is why it matters so much. See, a 15% drop isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. According to the analysis this plan is based on, it literally translates into saving thousands of lives and preventing a huge number of emergency room visits for things like asthma attacks and heart problems. The stakes are just incredibly high. So how do you pull off something this ambitious? Well, you don't do it all at once. The plan breaks it down into a really methodical 4-phase attack. Okay, so this timeline gives you the 30,000-foot view of the entire year. You start with some really tough, rapid restrictions. Then you shift gears to building out the long-term infrastructure. After that, it's all about making those changes permanent with new laws and enforcement. And finally, you review everything to see what worked, and you double down on it. So, phase 1 is basically an all-out emergency response. Think of it like shock and awe for the first 90 days. That means, bam, an immediate ban on the oldest, dirtiest trucks and buses. It means a massive crackdown on dust from construction sites. We're talking fleets of water sprinklers everywhere. And, of course, getting super strict on agricultural burning bans. At the same time, you launch a huge public health campaign with citywide alerts and handing out N95 masks. But look, emergency actions only get you so far. After that initial blitz, the whole mission pivots to building for the future. And where do you start? You go after the biggest piece of the pie, transportation. So the first big investment is to fast-track the purchase of 500 brand new electric buses to start cleaning up the city's fleet. And this next phase, phase 2, is where the real long-term heavy lifting starts. We're talking about a massive vehicle scrappage program, basically paying people to get their old clunkers off the road. They're also going to pilot a congestion charge, making it more expensive to drive polluting cars into the city center. Plus, you've got these huge projects kicking off, like planting green belts along roadsides to trap dust, building new waste-to-energy plants, and even setting up air quality refuges with powerful air purifiers inside schools for the kids. So, the back half of the year is all about locking in these gains and making them permanent. Phase 3 is about writing new, tougher laws, things like mandating that a certain percentage of new vehicles have to be electric. And Phase 4 is about looking at the data and, critically, working with neighboring states because, hey, pollution doesn't respect borders, right? Okay, so a plan this huge, it's obviously going to cost a lot of money, a serious price tag. So the big question is, where does all that cash come from? So here's the headline number. The total 1-year cost is estimated at around 35,000 crore rupees. That's about 4.2 billion US dollars.
And yeah, that is a massive, massive number. There's just no getting around it.
But that massive number needs some context. And this comparison right here tells the whole story. Look at the difference. We're not talking about a small budget bump here. This is a complete, fundamental reprioritization. It's an astronomical leap that says public health is now our absolute #1 priority, and we're putting our money where our mouth is.
So where does that 35,000 crore actually go? Let's break it down. You can see the biggest chunk by far is aimed squarely at the biggest problem. Transport. That's for the new e-buses, the scrappage program we talked about, but there's also serious money being put into all the other key areas, controlling dust, managing waste, and of course, direct public health spending. All right, so we have a detailed plan. We have the budget laid out, which brings us to the million-dollar question, or I guess the $4.2 billion question. Can a plan this ambitious actually work? So what's the potential payoff here? Well, the modeling projects that if this plan is really executed well, you could see a 25 to 30% drop in that horrible peak winter pollution. And that is a huge deal. It means turning a lot of those severe air days, the ones where it's literally dangerous to go outside, into poor air days. Now, that's not clean air, not yet, but it's a massive, tangible, life-saving step in the right direction. And it's important to remember, while all these big, systemic changes are happening, the plan also includes immediate help for people on the ground. You know, things like getting 10 million N95 masks into the hands of the most vulnerable people, deploying 50 mobile health vans to pollution hotspots, even declaring air pollution holidays for schools when the air quality gets really dangerous. It's a two-pronged attack. Fix the system for the long haul, but protect people's health right now. And that really brings us to the final critical point here. What we've seen today is that a detailed, science-backed plan to clean up Delhi's air, it's not a fantasy. It's not wishful thinking. The roadmap is there, the technology exists, the targets are clear, we even know what it would cost. The real challenge, the biggest hurdle, isn't a lack of solutions. The only question that's left is probably the hardest one to answer. Is the political will there to actually see it through?